The golden lights of Mero shimmered on the wet sidewalk. The restaurant's big glass windows glowed like a bright jewel in the middle of downtown Los Angeles. Inside, the place was busy and full of life. Waiters carried plates of juicy steak and fancy drinks to customers. Soft jazz music played in the background, mixing with the sounds of glasses clinking and people talking. Every table was filled with happy faces, laughing and chatting. Mero looked like the perfect restaurant, and that was exactly how Keanu Reeves wanted it to be. Keanu wasn't just a famous actor. He had built Mero with his own hands. He picked everything inside, the warm lights, the smooth wooden tables, even the music playing softly in the background. This restaurant wasn't just for show. It was real. It was something he was proud of. Tonight, though, Keanu wasn't here for the food. Wearing an old brown hoodie, jeans, and a simple gray t-shirt, Keanu pushed open the big glass door and walked inside. He didn't come with bodyguards. He didn't want a red carpet. He just wanted to blend in like any normal customer. As he stepped in, he took a deep breath. The smell of garlic, butter, and smoky steak filled his nose. It was familiar. It was home. But something felt wrong. Keanu had spent years watching people, not just in movies but in real life. He had learned to notice the little things, the way people stood, the way they talked, the way they hid secrets. He looked around. He didn't focus on the fancy customers sitting near the front or the influencers taking pictures of their food. Instead, he looked at the people who worked there. That's where the truth always was. His eyes stopped on the floor manager standing near the kitchen. The man looked serious, like a soldier guarding a castle. His arms were crossed tightly, and his eyes scanned the restaurant not to watch, but to control. Keanu's eyebrows pulled together slightly. Something was off. He walked to the bar and sat on a stool in the quietest corner. The bartender, a young man who looked tired, walked over. "Water?" the bartender asked. Keanu nodded. The bartender placed a glass of water in front of him, the ice clinking softly against the glass. But Keanu didn't drink it. He was listening. There was something in the air, something beneath all the laughter and happy voices. Attention. It was almost invisible, but Keanu could feel it. He had felt it before. On movie sets, in meetings, in places where powerful people scared others into silence. Then he heard it. A soft, muffled sound. Crying. Keanu's body froze. Everything else faded. The music, the laughter, the clinking glasses. All he could hear was that quiet, broken sob. It was coming from the hallway near the staff break room. A whisper. A sound almost too quiet to notice. But Keanu noticed. And he knew one thing for sure. Whispers always lead to the truth. The hallway was dark and narrow, tucked between the busy kitchen and the locker room where employees kept their things. Keanu walked slowly, his boots making no sound on the smooth floor. The farther he walked, the quieter the restaurant noise became. The laughter, the music, the talking, it all faded. All he could hear now was the soft crying. It was coming from behind a metal door. The door had a sign on it. It said, "Break Room." The door wasn't closed all the way. It was open just a little, leaving a small gap. Keanu peeked inside. He could barely see her. A young woman was inside, leaning over the metal countertop. Her head was down. Her shoulders were shaking. She was crying, but not loudly. It was the kind of crying you do when you don't want anyone to hear. When holding it hurts more than letting it out. Keanu took a step back, hiding out of view. Then he heard another voice. A man's voice. Low and rushed. "You can't let him do this to you," the man said. The girl, still crying, whispered back. "What choice do I have?" she said. "If I don't do what he wants, I'll lose my job." Keanu's stomach tightened. This wasn't about a bad customer. This wasn't about a mistake at work. This was worse. Someone in his restaurant was scaring his employees. And nobody was doing anything about it. Keanu took a deep breath. He turned around and quietly walked back into the main restaurant. His mind was racing. Keanu sat back down at the bar. He looked at the manager, Damien Cole, the man in the navy blue shirt. Before, Keanu had thought Damien just looked serious. But now he understood. Damien wasn't just watching the restaurant. He was controlling it. And Keanu knew the type. A bully in a suit. The bartender walked back over. "Everything okay?" he asked casually. Keanu forced a small smile. "Yeah," he said. "Just waiting for someone." That wasn't true. But Keanu wasn't ready to go after Damien yet. Not without knowing everything first. He needed proof. Then the young man from the break room stepped out. Tall. Maybe in his 20s. Wearing the same uniform as the others. But his face was tight with worry. Keanu watched him carefully. Then he made his move. Keanu stood up and walked over. He spoke softly so only the young man could hear. "Hey man," Keanu said. "Got a pen?" The young man jumped slightly. Yeah, of course." He handed Keanu a pen. Keanu took it, but he didn't walk away. Instead, he leaned against the counter looking relaxed. The young man turned back to his work, but his hands were shaking. Not much, just a little, but enough for Keanu to notice. The kid was nervous. Keanu could feel it. He watched him for a moment. Then in a soft, calm voice he asked, "Hey Mason." The young man froze for half a second. Keanu had seen his name tag. Mason didn't turn his head. Keanu spoke again. "Your friend is back there." She looked upset. Mason's hands stopped moving, just for a second. Then too quickly he said, "She's fine." Keanu's eyes narrowed slightly. That was a lie. Mason had practiced that answer. Keanu didn't push. Not yet. Instead, he let the silence stretch, just long enough to make Mason uncomfortable. Then he tilted his head slightly. Because now, the game had begun. And Keanu never lost when the stakes were this high. Mason's hands held onto the tray tightly. His eyes moved fast. He looked to Mr. Ben at the front of the restaurant where the boss stood in his navy blue shirt. Then he looked down again. That quick look told Keanu everything. Mason didn't even need to say it. After a long pause, Mason let out a breath. His voice became very quiet. "She's not okay," he admitted. "But she doesn't want trouble." Keanu nodded. He didn't ask too many questions. He just listened. "Is it a problem with a customer?" Keanu asked. Mason waited for a moment before shaking his head. "No," he whispered, so soft it was almost nothing. His eyes moved again to Mr. Ben at the front. That was all Keanu needed to know. This wasn't about a rude customer. It was someone inside the restaurant. Keanu let the silence stay for a while. Then he leaned in a little, keeping his voice soft. "It's someone who works here, isn't it?" Mason didn't answer, but his jaw got tight. His fingers played nervously with his notepad. His breath was shaky. He was scared. But Keanu could see that he wanted to talk. He just didn't know if he could. Keanu sat back, not pushing too hard. "How long has Chloe worked here?" Mason answered quickly. "A little over a year." Then he blinked like he realized why Keanu was asking. Keanu just shrugged, acting casual. "Just wondering if she likes working here." Mason let out a short, sad laugh. "She doesn't," he said. "But she can't leave. She needs the money." And there it was. Chloe wasn't just tired. She wasn't just having a bad day. She was stuck. Keanu's stomach twisted. He had seen this before. People trapped. Not by walls but by fear. By their own lives. He was about to ask more when he saw Mason suddenly freeze. Keanu didn't have to turn around to know why. Someone was behind him. The air changed. A voice spoke. "Everything okay over here?" The voice was smooth. Too smooth. Not like someone asking a question, but like someone giving a warning. Keanu turned around slowly. A man stood there. The boss. Damian Cole. He was in his mid-40s with clean-cut hair. He wore a sharp smile, but his eyes were cold. Keanu looked at him, calm on the outside. But inside, his instincts were ready. He had seen men like this before. Men who liked power. Men who knew how to use fear like a weapon. Damian wasn't just a boss. He was the king of this place and he knew it. Keanu picked up a pen from the counter and held it up. "Just needed a pen," he said, his voice even. Damian didn't move his eyes. He put a hand on Mason's shoulder. Too firm. Not friendly. "Good," Damian said with a smirk. "Let's stay focused." Then he walked away, looking around the restaurant like he owned everything. Mason let out a shaky breath the second Damian was gone. Keanu stayed quiet for a moment, then asked, "Does that happen a lot?" Mason nodded. He didn't look up. Every shift. Keanu sighed. This wasn't just about one mean boss. This was bigger. This was a system built on silence. And at the center of it all was Chloe. Keanu stepped outside the restaurant. He needed air. He needed to think. The city lights shone in the distance, but all he could see in his mind was Chloe. Her tired eyes. Her shaking hands. Her silence. Then the restaurant door opened. Jordan, the bartender, walked out. He wiped his hands on his apron and held his phone in the other. Keanu walked up to him. "Long night." Jordan looked up, startled. Then when he saw who it was, he relaxed. "Friday's man. Always busy," Jordan said. Keanu leaned against the wall. "Can I ask you something?" Jordan hesitated. He looked around. Then he nodded. "Yeah, sure." Keanu kept his voice calm. "Your manager, Damian Cole. What's he like?" A look crossed Jordan's face. A quick one. But Keanu saw it. Jordan chose his words carefully. He's strict, he said. Wants things done his way. Keanu nodded. Strict. Jordan sighed. He lowered his voice. He makes Chloe stay late. Alone. Every night. Keanu's hands clenched. Jordan looked at the door again before whispering, and the way he talks to her, it's not right. Keanu felt his chest tighten. He says things, Jordan continued. Things you don't say to someone you respect. Jordan looked away. She always looks like she's waiting for something bad to happen. Then Jordan said something that made Keanu freeze. Her stepdad used to hurt her. But, and Damien knows. Keanu turned fully to Mr. Bennett him. How? Jordan swallowed hard. They're connected somehow. Old family friend or something. Chloe told me once. Not much, but enough. Keanu felt his blood run cold. He uses it against her, Jordan whispered. Tell her if she does anything wrong, he'll make things worse. She's scared of what he'll say, of what he'll do. Keanu's stomach dropped. Chloe wasn't just dealing with a bad boss. She was being blackmailed. Her own past was being used as a weapon against her. And Damien? Damien knew exactly what he was doing. Keanu leaned against the cool brick wall. His jaw was tight. His hands were deep in his pockets. This wasn't just workplace harassment. Damien wasn't just a bad boss. He was a predator. And Chloe? She had no way out. Inside, the restaurant kept going like nothing was wrong. People laughed. They ate desserts. They drank wine. But under all that, something rotten was growing. And Chloe was trapped right in the middle of it. Keanu had seen this before. Men like Damien knew how much silence cost. And how cheap it was to buy. A few threats. A few whispered words. And suddenly, someone like Chloe stopped fighting. She worked late. She kept her head down. She never raised her voice. Not because she was weak, but because she had been taught that speaking up was dangerous. And Damien? Damien knew it. Keanu walked back inside. He moved slowly, watching. Chloe was working again. Her voice was quiet, flat. She took orders like a robot, like someone who had learned to survive. Her face was a mask, but her eyes were tired. Her smile never reached her cheeks. She walked past Damien. His hand brushed her arm, and she flinched. She didn't look at him. She didn't say anything. She just kept walking. But her whole body tensed, like she thought she was about to get hit. That was it. That tiny moment. Less than a second. It hit Keanu harder than any punch. She wasn't just afraid of losing her job. She was afraid of losing herself. Keanu's eyes followed Damien. Damien smiled at customers. He looked relaxed. Confidence. Like he owned the world. Like he owned her. But he didn't. Not anymore. Keanu wasn't just here as a customer. Not anymore. He wasn't even here as a boss. He was here for justice. The restaurant was almost empty now. Candles flickered low. The last customers were leaving. But something felt wrong. Chloe had been gone for 10 minutes. And so had Damien. Keanu stood up. His gut told him something was happening. He moved through the restaurant quietly. Past the kitchen doors. Down the narrow hallway. The sound of refrigerators filled the air. Then, a voice. Colt, come. You know what I expect, Chloe? Don't make me ask twice. Keanu clenched his fists. Damien had no idea what was coming next. This wasn't just going to be a conversation. This was going to be a reckoning. Keanu stopped at the break room door. It was half open. Inside he saw something bad. Elena was standing in the corner looking scared. Her back was against a metal counter. Her apron was hanging loose. Her eyes were big and full of fear. Damien stood in front of her. He was much bigger than her. He held one of her wrists tightly. His other hand was on the counter beside her head, blocking her from moving. His voice was soft, but it sounded mean. I've been covering for you for a long time, he said. I've been patient. Do you want me to stay patient? Elena tried to pull away. Please, she said. Just let me go home. Damien leaned in closer. You know what happens if I tell your little secret? He whispered. The stepdad? The police reports? No one cared back then. You think anyone will care now? They'll just think you're broken. You need me. That was enough. Keanu stepped for Mr. Bennett. His voice was strong and sharp like a knife. Let her go. Damien froze. Elena gasped. Tears rolled down her face. She turned to Mr. Bennett at the door. Keanu stood there, a shadow behind him from the dim hallway light. His hoodie covered his shoulders like armor. His fists were tight. Damien blinked. Then he scoffed. Who the hell are you? Keanu didn't answer. He took a step inside, his eyes locked on Damien. Step away from her. Right now. Damien straightened. His fake smile cracked. This is none of your business, man. Keanu didn't flinch. It became my business the moment you put your hands on her. Damien's face twisted with anger. You don't know who you're messing with. Keanu's voice didn't change. I do. A co-mister. Bennett. Damien snapped. He lunged at Keanu. Without warning, he shoved him hard. Keanu stumbled back. Mr. Bennett. His back hit the metal shells with a loud crash. Elena screamed. Keanu hit the ground, his shoulder slamming into the steel. Pain shot through his back. But he didn't stay down. He got up slowly. His chest burned, not from pain but from anger. And then, without saying anything, he reached into his back pocket. He pulled out his wallet. He flipped it open. Inside was a shiny ID card, gleaming under the flickering light. Keanu Reeves. Marrow Group. Damien's face turned pale. Keanu stepped for Mr. Bennett. His eyes never left Damien. You're done. For a moment, no one spoke. Damien stood still, his mouth slightly open. He stared at the ID in Keanu's hand like it was a weapon. Elena stood behind Keanu. One hand covered her mouth. The other gripped the counter as if she might fall. No one had expected this. Not Damien. Not Elena. And certainly not the other workers who were now gathering in the hallway. They had heard the crash. They had felt the tension in the air. Keanu put his ID back into his pocket. His voice was calm but strong. I own this restaurant. Damien swallowed hard. Keanu kept talking. And I just watched you corner and threaten one of my employees. Damien stammered. I didn't know, sir. It's a misunderstanding. I swear. Keanu took a step closer. Damien took a step back. No, it's not. Keanu's voice was colder now. You've been hurting her. Controlling her. Scaring her with her past. Making her stay quiet with threats. That ends now. The hallway was now full of people. Mason stood near the doorway. His eyes darted between Elena, Damien, and Keanu. He didn't move. Jordan stood beside him, fists clenched. Other workers whispered to each other. Their eyes were wide. They were finally seeing the truth. Elena looked like she wanted to disappear. Her shoulders shook. Her body trembled. Keanu turned his head slightly, his voice softer now. He spoke to her directly. You're safe now. He doesn't own you. He never did. She didn't answer at first. She just stared at him like she wasn't sure if he was real. Like she thought the floor might vanish beneath her feet. Then finally she nodded. A small, tiny nod. But it was enough. She let out a shaky breath. It was like she had been holding it inside for a long, long time. Damien tried one last time. Mr. Reeves, please. Just give me a chance to explain. No. Keanu cut him off. You don't get to explain anything. Keanu pulled out his phone. He started dialing. Damien's face turned even paler. Who are you calling? Keanu didn't even look at him. Corporate HR. He turned to Elena. Do you want to leave the room? She shook her head. No, she said. I want to hear this. Keanu put the call on the speaker. Yes, this is Keanu Reeves, he said into the phone. I need to file an immediate misconduct and abuse report against one of my site managers. Damien Cole. Effective immediately, he's fired. Damien stood frozen. His mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. Keanu hung up. He looked at Damien one last time. You're finished? Damien Cole, once full of arrogance, was now powerless. His mask had fallen. His fake power was gone. Security from the corporate arrived within the hour. They took Damien away. But the damage he had left behind didn't disappear with him. The restaurant still felt heavy. Workers stood in small groups. They whispered in low voices. Some looked shocked. Others looked relieved. But most of them wore the same look, hesitation. Like they still weren't sure if this was real. Like they weren't sure if things would really change. Elena sat on a bench near the back of the kitchen. Her shoulders were slouched. Her hands wrapped around a mug of tea someone had given her. Her eyes weren't focused on anything. Just staring. Lost. Mason sat beside her. He didn't say anything. But he stayed close enough so she knew she wasn't alone. Keanu stood nearby watching them. He didn't want to say anything just yet. He didn't want to break the silence. Then after a long time, Elena finally spoke. Her voice was quiet. I wanted to leave so many times, she said. But I couldn't. I thought maybe this was normal. Maybe this was just how things are. Mason looked at her. His brow furrowed. It's not, he said. His voice was soft. It's not supposed to be. Keanu finally took a step for Mr. Bennett. He looked at Mr. Bennett and spoke, his voice calm but serious. This isn't okay, he said. Damien acted this way because no one stopped him. People in charge stayed quiet. And because of that, people like Chloe suffered. The whole room went silent. Keanu took a deep breath. I came here tonight just to see how things were going. I didn't expect to find this. I didn't expect to see people afraid while pretending to smile. He looked around at everyone, the waiters, the cooks, even the hostess at the front who had stopped pretending to arrange menus. But now I see it, he said. And I want to be very clear with all of you. He paused, letting his words settle in. This isn't just about Damien, he continued. It's about the system that let him do whatever he wanted. It's about a culture that kept you all silent, that made you believe that speaking up was dangerous. Jordan, one of the workers, spoke up. His voice was stronger than before. It wasn't just Chloe, he said. A lot of us stopped saying anything. Every time we tried, we got ignored, or we got in trouble. So after a while, we just gave up. Keanu nodded. I know, he said softly, and I'm sorry. The room went quiet again, but this time, it wasn't an empty silence. It was a silence filled with waiting. Waiting for someone to finally believe that things could change. Keanu looked at Chloe again. What happens next is up to you, he said gently. But you need to know this. You are not the one who should feel ashamed. Chloe blinked. Her voice was soft and shaky when she whispered, I just don't want anyone else to go through what I did. Keanu nodded. They won't, he said. And he didn't just say it, he meant it. The restaurant was quiet now. The kitchen lights had turned off. The last few lamps dimmed, and only soft whispers filled the empty dining room. Outside, the night stretched dark and cool. Inside, something had changed. Not just in the air, but in the people. Keanu stood near the front, watching as Chloe gathered her things. Her apron was neatly folded in her arms. Her movements were still careful, but she wasn't shaking anymore. Mason, another worker, stood nearby. He gave her small, supportive glances. Jordan leaned against the counter, rubbing the back of his neck. His eyes kept drifting to Mr. Bennett, Chloe, like he was making sure she was really okay. Keanu walked over slowly, not wanting to disturb the quiet moment. Chloe turned to him. Her face looked unsure, but stronger than before. He's really gone? She asked softly. Keanu nodded. He's not coming back. Chloe looked down at her apron, then back up at Keanu. Thank you, she said, for not walking away. Keanu shook his head. I couldn't, he said. And you shouldn't have had to wait this long for someone to listen. She hesitated, then asked, what happens now? Keanu glanced around the room. A few workers were still standing there, watching him, waiting for an answer. What happens now, he said, is that we rebuild. He turned to face everyone. His voice was steady and strong. Damien was only part of the problem, he continued. The real problem is bigger. It's the fear that keeps people silent. It's the pressure to stay quiet. The idea that speaking up makes you the bad guy. No one moved. No one spoke. So here's what's going to change, Keanu said. This restaurant, and every other one under my name, is going to be different. We're going to have new rules. There will be people checking in on things. You'll be able to report problems without anyone knowing it was you. You'll get support if you're struggling. And most importantly, you will be heard. Jordan looked up. For real? Keanu nodded. For real. I don't just want to fix this restaurant, he said. I want to fix the whole system that let this happen. Mason spoke next. And if we speak up, someone will actually listen? Keanu looked him in the eye. I will. It wasn't just a promise. It wasn't just words to make people feel better. It was real. The room stayed silent for a moment. But this time it was a different kind of silence. Not fear. Oh. Chloe looked at her coworkers, then back at Keanu. Her voice was small but steady. Then, I want to help. Keanu smiled gently. Good, he said. Because real change doesn't happen from the top down. It starts with people like you. An hour later, Keanu sat in his car. He watched through the windshield as Chloe walked out of the restaurant. Mason and Jordan were with her. The three of them laughed at something. Their steps were lighter, freer. Before she got too far, Chloe glanced back. She caught Keanu's eye through the glass and gave him a small nod. It wasn't over. But it had begun. Because sometimes all it takes is one kind act. One moment of kindness to break through the silence that has trapped someone for years. Keanu didn't fight with fists. He fought by showing up. By listening. By standing up when it mattered most. In a world where too many people look the other way, Be the one who doesn't. Speak up. Reach out. Because your kindness, no matter how small, might be the reason someone else survives their hardest day. Kindness doesn't need permission. It just needs someone willing to act. If you enjoyed this story, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more exciting stories filled with adventure, mystery, and unforgettable moments. Your support means the world. It keeps these stories coming and the creativity flowing. Thanks for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.